And I think it's important for some of you to see that you're not going to get your way, that I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, and that your little tantrums will not be rewarded.
Oh yes, as promised, it's the Rucka Sucka again.
What about the guns that you own? Isn't that part of your property? How is that any different than your house or your business or anything anything that you own? So I would put it this way. You are dropping context because while property rights are inalienable, they are not in a vacuum. They are not without a context. They are not.
Is it just me, or does this guy remind you of Fundy's trying to explain away problems with the Bible? Oh, you just have to read it in context. I'm going to skip his nonsensical rant and just remind everyone of where property rights come from. Self-ownership. Since you own yourself, you own the fruits of your labor. Not only the stuff you make, but the stuff you buy with money you earned. If you work to make money, and you use that money to buy a gun, that gun is the fruits of your labor. So it's linked to your self-ownership. Take away that gun, just like taking away any other form of property, is to claim in some degree ownership of your own self, which, by definition, is slavery.
What is the antithesis to reason? Force, of course. Force, of course.
And no one can talk to a horse, of course.
Force makes it impossible to live by your rational judgment. Force makes it so that when dealing with other people, reality, objective reality, is no longer your frame of reference. You're no longer dealing with each other by persuasion. You are no longer trading voluntarily. Now you are only motivated by avoiding getting hit, avoiding getting killed.
Which is a lot easier to do if you're armed. Millions of people do it every year, and yes, that's according to CDC data that's been suppressed since the 1990s.
You are basically handing over what the man with the gun is telling you to hand over.
And it's the same thing if the man has a badge and what he's forcing you to turn over is your gun. Consistency, Rucka! Try it sometime!
Or if you're being defrauded, similarly, you are no longer dealing with the facts of reality.
The facts of reality are that we're never going to be able to trust every single human being never to initiate force against another. And so it's important for people to have effective means of self-defense, not only for purposes of self-defense, but also as a deterrent. And as we've seen over and over again, it's a deterrent that works.
Now, since the antithesis to reason is force, is it ever okay to use force? Yes, in retaliation. In retaliation. Do we need a government for that? Yes.
So, because there are people who might initiate force against us, we need to create a government whose whole purpose is to initiate force? With perceived legitimacy? This argument has never made any sense. Also, Rucka, didn't you complain last time that I was calling you a statist? But here, you show directly that you are.
Because there needs to be an objective standard. There needs to be a body with a monopoly on the use of force that is set up for the explicit purpose of making sure force is only being used in retaliation.
Oh yeah, because that's totally realistic.
This ensures that nobody introduces force by whim. This ensures that nobody can just form a gang and just start using their opinion to bring force into the equation.
Because you've already created a gang to do exactly that. The only difference is you're sticking flags outside their building.
Now, you might be asking, okay, then should there be gun rights? Yes, for emergency situations. You ought to have guns for self-protection in the cases where the police can't get there in time, when you don't have time to call them and wait for them.
Oh, so you do recognize this. Then what's the problem? People have the right to arm themselves for self-defense. So?
But when it comes to higher capacity weapons whose design is to hurt a lot of people at once, that is no longer used for self-defense.
Really? What if you're being attacked by a lot of people at once, like the store owners during the LA riots? And how do you define higher capacity? A lot of lefties want to make it a 10-round mag. Fact, it takes on average 3.6 shots to drop an attacker. If you're being attacked by 3 people at once, you're out of luck. And that's an average. What about a worst case scenario? Veterans who have seen combat will confirm that there are plenty of times where you can shoot someone 10 or more times and they just keep coming. 85% of target areas on the human body are non-lethal. So again, who are you to say how many rounds is too much?
So if the nature of an object, if the nature of a tool...
Tools and objects do not have natures. They're just things. They just are. The only nature is of the person who's using them.
Owning a weapon that causes more damage than necessary for emergency self-defense is not your right.
The only weapons you can say that about are ones that kill indiscriminately, like a nuke or even a conventional bomb. But since firearms can be pinpointed against aggressors, you have no business saying what is necessary and what isn't.
The idea that every individual person should have basically a militia.
Why don't you go talk to a Venezuelan or two? They don't like Maduro's government, but even after several years, they've had no luck getting rid of it because Chavez disarmed the population.
And people were saying, oh, the founding fathers wanted every person to have their own private militia to overthrow the government. Obviously, that doesn't make any sense.
It makes perfect sense. Read what the founders wrote. For that matter, look at what they did.
And I don't know what exactly the founding fathers said.
Yeah, I picked up on that.
I'm saying where we should be aiming to go, where we should aim to get. Once we have popularized objectivism among the intellectual class, once our society has embraced capitalism and understand individual rights, once we have moved in a better direction and our culture, our country is moving towards the desired place, I think at that time it is right to talk about handing over highly dangerous weapons.
To whom? If we've gotten to that point, we'll realize that not only is government unnecessary, but actually antithetical to the process. Everything Rucka says about why we need a government has been debunked and disproven and intellectually laid to waste over and over again. He's completely ignorant on that, and given the volume of material that is now out there on that, his ignorance is willful. And yet, he keeps emphasizing things like reason. Man, you really have to worry about the people who keep emphasizing a principle like that. It's far less likely to be what they actually do. Hey, thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe and keep these videos coming by donating, becoming a subscriber and getting special benefits, or even for free with airtime. And check out all the great content here, like this video selected just for you.